in an inconspicuous place, more like a closet than a chapel. The faithful were incessantly being told by avant-garde religious educators that the purpose of the sacrament was to be received in communion, not to be adored as if the two were mutually exclusive. The ecclesiastical magisterium has constantly resisted and countered this negative trend, while agreeing that the primary purpose of the Eucharist is to make the sacrifice of the cross present and to give spiritual nourishment to the faithful. The Council of Trent insisted that the Blessed Sacrament is to be honored and adored after the liturgy of the Mass has been completed. To deny this is tantamount to a denial of the substantial presence of Christ in the sacrament. In 1965, Pope Paul VI spoke out forcefully in favor of the reservation of the Blessed Sacrament in a place of honor in the Church. He exhorted pastors to expose the sacrament for solemn veneration and to hold Eucharistic processions on suitable occasions. He urged the faithful to make frequent visits to the sacrament. Pope John Paul II, in his many writings as Pope, has sought to promote the worthy celebration of the Eucharist and devotion to the Eucharist outside of Mass. In his encyclical of 2003, he expresses satisfaction that in many places adoration of the Blessed Sacrament is fervently practiced, but he laments that elsewhere the practice has been almost totally abandoned. Worship of the sacrament outside of Mass, he writes, is of inestimable value for the life of the Church. This worship is strictly linked to the celebration of the Eucharistic sacrifice. It is the responsibility of pastors to encourage, also by their personal witness, the practice of Eucharistic adoration and exposition of the Blessed Sacrament in particular, as well as prayer of adoration before Christ present under the Eucharistic species. The Pope himself spends long hours before the Blessed Sacrament and receives many of his best insights from these times of prayer. Like St. Alphonsus Liguori, whom he quotes on the point, he is convinced that of the religious value of adoring Jesus in this sacrament. Prayer before the Eucharist outside of Mass, he writes, enables us to make contact with the very wellspring of grace. Thanks in great part to this papal encouragement, there has been a striking resurgence of the practice of exposition and holy hours of adoration. In the year 2000, it was reported that more than 1,000 parishes in the United States sponsored perpetual Eucharistic adoration, while another 1,000 provided opportunities for adoration during a substantial portion of the day. These practices, far from undermining hunger for Holy Communion, stimulate it. They prolong and increase the fruits of active participation in the Mass. They also express and fortify the faith of Catholics in the full meaning of the real presence. By abiding in our midst in this sacramental form, the Lord keeps his promise to be with his church always, even to the close of the age. Although the mystery of the real presence certainly stretches our powers of comprehension to the utmost, it is not simply a puzzle. It is a consoling sign of the love, power, and ingenuity of our divine Savior. He willed to bring himself into intimate union with believers of every generation and to do so in a way that suits our nature as embodied spirits. The forms of food and drink, deeply charged with memories from the history of ancient Israel, are meaningful even to the unlearned through the ages. They aptly symbolize the spiritual nourishment and refreshment conferred by the sacrament. On another level, they call to mind the crucifixion of Christ, who shed his blood for our redemption. And finally, they prefigure the everlasting banquet of the blessed in the heavenly kingdom. The many-layered symbolism of the Eucharist is not separable from the real presence. The symbolism has singular power to recapture the past, to transform the present, and to anticipate the future, because it contains the Lord of history truly, really, and substantially. Thank you.